Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental A-Team Podcast. Hello, Dental A-Team listeners. This is Kiera, and welcome to the Dental A-Team Podcast. I'm so happy you guys are here. I'm so happy you have chosen to spend more time with me. I'm so grateful for all of you to be here. And today is book club day. So I hope you guys are ready for it. It's crazy. I really didn't know if you guys were enjoying this, but you are. And so I decided, all right, here we go. Let's keep doing the book club for you. But I want to give you guys a couple of tips on how to run a book club because someone emailed me. I love it, guys. I tell you, any person who emails in on Dental A-Team, it's like you become my pen pal. And it really does make me so happy to meet you, to talk to you. So someone emailed in and asked, Kiera, how exactly does Dental A-Team actually run your guys' book club? So I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to teach you. But before we get started, if this podcast has blessed you, please go leave us those 5 stars. Please share this with someone today. And today's book club is about crucial conversations. So I hope you guys are excited. I hope you actually do this book club with your team. I'm going to give you guys kind of a summary of things that I learned from it. But like I said, I'm going to teach you guys how to book club, at least how Dental A-Team book clubs. So someone emailed in and they said, Kiera, can you just walk us through exactly how you guys book clubs? So what our team does is we meet on the third Monday of every single month. And Brittany Stone would tell you when we first started this, we might have been a little too strict on our book clubbing. Like we had it to where we would have every single person, you had to at least read the book to be able to attend. And we noticed we actually lost a lot of people. And the books that I choose for book club for Dental A-Team for you guys are all very intentional books that your whole team could truly probably benefit from if they were willing to read them. But even if they came and listened to the conversation, I still think that they could get quite a bit out of it. And so Britt and I decided that we were maybe a bit too strict on people and that we were going to have more people show up for us. So the now rule is you've got to at least read something for it in order for you to be able to attend. So that's our only rule that we have is you have to at least read something to where you're an active participant as opposed to just taking from it. So that's our rule. We have it on the third Monday and we do ours over lunch and we called it actually Dental A-Team's happy hour / book club. No, we're not drinking, but what we are doing is we wanted it to be where it was kind of like a team fun hangout because one of our team members, we are a virtual team and they said, hey, I'd really love an opportunity to be able to hang out with our coworkers a bit more, like almost like doing lunch, but virtually. So we decided to turn it into book club / happy hour where we're going to spend 30 minutes talking about the book and then just 30 minutes of just fun time. But Britt usually is our facilitator. So I'd recommend having a facilitator. I love Britt being our facilitator because you guys have heard her nickname a couple of times. No BS Britt. She's called HR Brit. She's called, gosh, I just gave her another one the other day. And it's very fitting. But Brit is just someone who's very black and white. But she's a really incredible book club leader because she brings in controversial topics. And we have a rule in our book club that whatever is said at book club is not work time. So this is not a time like we have them clock out. They want to hang out. So it's not true work time. And I wanted it to be that way. So it's people feeling safe that whatever they say in this space is nothing that's going to be held against them because there will be some political areas. There will be some other areas where I want people to be able to speak up on it. Like sometimes there will be religion, sometimes there will be politics, obviously always being respectful, but we wanted it to be a space where people could actually talk their opinions without feeling like it would be judged or taken or used against them. And so that's at least in ours. Check your HR rules and your policies, but that's how we set it up for us because I think book club is a space where people can really expand their minds and really be able to talk about it and ask. I come in, I say, all right, guys, here's Kiera Unfiltered. I'm not CEO Kiera. I'm not consultant Kiera. I am just Kiera. This is real raw Kiera. And I will ask questions. And it's been really fun because like we did the Go Giver book club the other day. And I said, guys, do you really actually think this works? And I mean, I just had Bob Berg on the podcast. If you missed that one, go be sure to listen to it. Hopefully we get the Crucial Combos authors, Joseph Grenny and Carrie Patterson. Please come on the podcast. We'd love to have you on as well. I think I'm going to try and get every author to get on here. So that, like, wish me luck. If you guys know them, please help me out. Send me an email if you know any of them. But what we did with that was I just asked the question of, do you really think that this works? Do you think that this is something like, is this just an old idea, or is it still relevant? And it was really fun. And again, Britt and I will sometimes bring in devil's advocate questions like that to get the conversation started. When we did Atomic Habits by James Clear, still working on getting James Clear on the podcast, just plug for James Clear on there. Marketing team, let's be sure we tag him on this podcast as well. But when we had that, I said, like, how many of you actually do like Atomic Habits? And we actually found that the people who loved the book were people who weren't really having habits in their life. And those who didn't necessarily love the book, they enjoyed the book, were ones who already had pretty strong habits in their life. And they're already doing a lot of the things that was talked about in the book. So it just became this like polarizing, amazing way for me as a leader to also understand. And it's really fun as leaders to watch your team evolve into these different pieces. So I enjoyed that a ton. I enjoyed watching my team evolve. I enjoy hearing their ideas. And I feel like I get to know them as people, not just as coworkers. So that's at least Dental A Team's rules. You have to at least read something enough to contribute to the conversation. And we do it at the same time. And now it's DAT Book Club Happy Hour, where it's just a fun time. And there's no like HR. Of course, it still has to say professionals. I'm not saying that they're allowed to go wild, but I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to have a space where they could just talk their open opinions. Britt facilitates. She always has a couple of questions, and then we tend to tangent on it. So for Crucial Conversations, really talking about like, how do we have these conversations, and does this work, and what do you guys think about this, and how many times have we run into this? So just really having a couple questions there to spur it. And then usually you're going to get your book club, like your core crew. And so in our core crew, it's usually me, Britt, Dana, as our core crew, who are always there. And we'll have other people who come in. Sometimes Tip will join us. Sometimes Shelby will join us. Sometimes Matt will join us. So really, it's just a variety of people that come. But for me, every single year, I do require my team one required reading, and that's extreme ownership. So we do that every year in January. We have a book club about it. And that's one that I just make as mandatory reading. All the other ones, if they choose to join, fantastic. But I do require one mandatory book club because I want people to take extreme ownership within our team. So that's hopefully a good way to help you guys get started on this, how to run it. And then I always try to give you guys the podcast so that way you can listen to the podcast, maybe get a couple of questions, maybe get a couple of ideas, even have your team listen to the podcast to get like a quick summary, and then you guys could take it on. So hopefully that helps. I just wanted to dive that in. Like I said, we do a book club every single month. So for January, it's Crucial Conversations, or excuse me, for this month, it's Crucial Conversations. Next month will be the Noticer. Buy Back Your Time will be in March. And then April is High Output Management. May is Come Up for Air, How Teams Can Leverage Systems and Tools to Stop Drowning in Work. June is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise L. Hay. Get ready, that one. Just get ready to have a lot of emotions come up for you. July is Your Next 5 Moves. I love this book. Master the Art of Business Strategy. August is Die with Zero. Get ready. All my Profit First people with Mike Michalowicz. Die with Zero is contrary to Mike Michalowicz. And I freaking love Mike, and I live by Profit First, but I also really love Die with Zero. I think they're both such beautiful mindsets, and I think the middle ground is absolutely incredible. But my Die Hard Profit First did not enjoy Die with Zero. So just heads up. But I always think like, don't just read things that complement what you already believe. I like to read things that challenge what I already believe. So that's August. September is The Power of Fun. I love that book. October is Who Not How. This is such a fantastic book about hiring and outsourcing different pieces in your life. November is Deep Work. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to change your life on productivity. And then December is Connect, building exceptional relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. So that's our book club lineup. This month, it's Crucial Conversations. So I hope you're ready for it. We are a little off on the podcasting, so don't you stress. To whatever month I'm on. I know Crucial Conversations is coming out in March. I read it in January. It's because we got a little behind last year when we did it. So don't stress. Just pick a book. I'm going to do it with you, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do the next month, so that way you can join me. But this month, it's Crucial Conversations by Joseph Grenny and Carrie Patterson. And they talked about, I think, you guys, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick highlights. This book is such a good how-to that I love. I enjoy a good book that's a good how-to. This is how things work out. This is how we should run our lives. I just think it's a beautiful way to view, like, it's a good how-to book. Dental Team is very practical and tactical, and I think Crucial Conversations is a good complement to that. So also the way I do it, you guys can see, I literally just take notes. I take notes as I listen. I usually listen to books on about 3.5 times the speed on Audible, and then I just sit here and take notes. That way I don't have to go reread the book, but I have all my notes here. So whatever you choose to do, that's just how I choose to do it. So Crucial Conversations are where your life will change in a moment. And so it's those crucial moments and just getting really good at it. And I felt like Crucial Conversations kind of just teaches me how to navigate through these things, get better at it. It's going to be a thing of practice as opposed to perfection. And so perfect practice makes perfect. And so maybe the way we've been doing our conversations isn't the best way. It's not getting the best results. I absolutely love, and on my name signature, it says, I've kept this quote on here for years, and it says, "There are no mistakes, there are just results." And I think about that with Crucial Conversations. Like, when I go have a conversation with somebody, am I getting the results I want? And if I'm not, maybe I should change up my tactics. And so that's why I really loved Crucial Conversations. And I feel like, especially in a team, let's go to Patrick Lenciani's 5 Dysfunctions of Teams. To build trust, I think it comes down to being able to really be able to have crucial conversations. And so, are you good at that? Are you able to do that? The answer is, if you're not, this is a fantastic book. And I think all of us, like, I feel like I really learned how to have quite a few good crucial conversations. I was super happy reading this book. I'm like, fantastic. I already do a lot of these things. But to take me to the next level, because Crucial Conversations, we don't always show up our best. And again, I feel like it's when the heat rises, how do we show up, and how can we constantly reform those muscles to become even better? So you got to set up the conversation in the best way possible. You've got to be able to have high conversations with hot emotional conversations. Okay. So it's the hot emotional conversations. We either act out or talk out. And I loved that. They're like, we're either going to act out, meaning we're going to like explode and tyrant and scream and yell, or we're going to talk it out. And which way do you want to act, and which way do you want to behave? So I really, 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 really loved it. And the line I made this, I made this underlined in my notes. It says, "How can I be 100% honest and 100% respectful?" And I loved that line from the book. Brittany Stone is such a brilliant leader. And she says, like, clear is kind. And I think she pulled that from Brene Brown. But like, I think it's the same thing. Like, how can I be clear and how can I be kind? How can I be 100% honest and not sugarcoat while also being 100% respectful? So they go through several things. And they say, like, number one is like, you want to have everything out in the open and have free flowing communication and feel comfortable, all the info that we can coming forward. And so really the goal is to like make people feel safe, make people feel like they can have these conversations. And then I really loved that, like, they said, don't play games. The difference of an opinion is when crucial conversations come in. So when we have these differences of opinions, that's when a crucial conversation is going to come to the table. That's when we're actually going to be able to kind of like learn all these different pieces, learn what's going on, and make it to where we're like, when the stakes are high, are we able to, I kid you not, be able to navigate through them and be able to have a crucial conversation that's a very productive conversation as well. So I loved this part, and I have become a very firm believer, and that is to prep before your conversation happens. So they said 70% happens in your head and not in your mouth. And so it's all these thoughts that we have, all the prep work. And they said, be short and choose your problem. If you're not choosing the right conversation, so if not choosing the right conversation, you're not in the right conversation. So if you don't choose the correct problem, it's not going to be the right conversation. And then we're actually not going to come to the correct solution. And so really, like, if you got to focus on one issue and be very focused. I think so often these crucial conversations, I heard a phrase where they said it's the crazy 8, where we start with one and we like start to solve it, and then we come back and we loop around to it. Then we go to another one and we come back and we just keep looping back and forth. And it's a crazy 8 for us. And so really being clear and intentional on that one focus. And when I teach this to teams, I work all the time with teams on this, and we tell them, like, before you go talk to a team member, figure out, what are you actually trying to solve? Be really clear on that and make sure it's super, super, super clear. That way you're not just sitting here wondering, like, oh, is this happening? Is this not happening? You want to make sure that it actually is the conversation that you were intending to have. And so going through that, they talked about we often pick easy over hard, testing the waters, but that one is not the one that matters most. And so making sure that we actually choose the correct conversation and we're not tiptoeing around. They said 3 tips for the wrong topic. Emotions escalate, you get frustrated, you walk away skeptical, or you're in deja vu dialogue, one with the wrong topic, and then you push back and find the real issue. So if like you're noticing any of those things, like your emotions are escalating, like you want to walk away skeptical, or you're like in deja vu dialogue, like we've already been here before, push back and find the real issue of like, okay, maybe I'm not there because this feels like this. What is the real issue at hand? And come back to it. And then they talked about unbundling, and they call it the CPR, name examples of content, pattern, and relationships. So when you go through that content, pattern, and relationships, making sure that it's the right content, what's the pattern, and what's the relationship we have, and how do we allow people to process this too? And so I feel like my overall take on a lot of this was prepping really well, but then also making sure that we're simple and succinct, like less words. If it's too many words, we aren't ready to have the conversation. So if you can't come in and say the problem directly, succinctly, not vague, with accountability and reposition, then you need to focus on what and not how. Tell the truth, and how can I say it honestly and respectfully? And I just love that they broke it down constantly throughout the book of like, how can I say it honestly and respectfully, but very succinct, very, very, I don't think it's like matter of fact. That just doesn't feel like the right way. But they said choose direct over easy. And I just go back to Brit of clear is kind. And so often, I think I'm a person who really enjoys being liked. I'm a person who would prefer to sometimes take the quote unquote easy route, but it never is easy. And I'm like, if I'm going to muster up the courage to go have this conversation, let's be direct and not easy on it. And then have the conversation that you want to have. Choose, what do I really want? Be focused and flexible, but watch for when people want to change from what I want. And that was such an interesting thing, is like, I might want to be direct and have this, so people might want to skirt around it. Make sure that doesn't happen, because that's when you do walk away super frustrated. That's when you do walk away feeling like nothing was solved from this. So make sure that you have that. And then they also said, like, start with heart. So change our heart, work on ourselves first. Starting with the right motive can really, really help as well. And ask single questions, pause. What do I really want? Examine my motives. Am I worried about being right? Am I worried about being humiliated? Am I worried about showing power? What am I acting like I want? Name how I am doing. What should I do right now to get what I really want in the long term? So I thought that that was just a beautiful way of a couple questions to ponder as you go through these. And then how do I need to show up right now to get this outcome? And that's something where I've just thought about like different archetypes, or who do I need to bring to the table? Do I need to bring a queen or a king? Where it's more like a sovereign energy? Do I need to bring a magician that's a little more whimsical and playful while still being direct and kind? Is it that I need to bring like more love and empathy to the table while still being direct and getting the outcome I'm looking for? Do I need to bring in my gladiator that just needs to get things done while being respectful and kind? And clarify like what you don't really want as well. So like, what don't I want and what do I want? Sometimes knowing the counter to it can also help us be more clear on this. So there were so many pieces, so many different things. And they talked about how like oftentimes the conversations are around stories and not around facts. And so what is the story we're telling ourselves all the time? And how can we do this? And without the emotions, we'd be just fine. But those emotions escalate. And so we either master our emotions or we get mastered by our emotions. And so I thought that was just a beautiful way to think about, are my emotions mastering me? Or do I have control over my emotions? And how can I master them more? Sometimes I feel myself getting hot. And so I'm like, hold on, let me take a breath and let me refocus on what do I really want. I kid you not, it's right here. I always put a sticky note of what I really want, my outcome. You can also put what you don't want on there, so you're able to then follow through, be able to get the pieces that you want done, and be just very intentional. Now, if you're having the conversation face to face, it might be hard to have a sticky note sitting there. So what I do, I will even sometimes put on my phone screensaver, because right, phones are oftentimes there. If not, I look at that right before I walk into the conversation. So I'm very clear on what I want. And I also will oftentimes say what I want. And that's something that I have just learned over time of like, hey, I want to have a convo with you, and I never, ever, ever want you to feel negative about anything. I truly value you as a teammate. I value you as a leader. And I really want to have a conversation about blank. And I want to find a solution with you. I want to get to the root cause of it. And I really, at the end of this, want you to know how much I respect you. And I know we're able to find a solution that's really going to benefit the practice. So it's not me, it's not you. There's no sides here. Or for my husband, like it's going to benefit our marriage or that's going to benefit our family. Because when I think I take it out of me and put it onto the bigger piece as to why I'm even having this, then it becomes a lot easier for me. So our emotions are the drivers of our stories and what we think is right or wrong. And so check our stories. Like, what's the story you're telling yourself? Like, oh, this person's a terrible teammate. That's a story. Or, oh, my husband, he just never cares about me. Again, it's a story. Like, make sure your stories are empowering, because oftentimes I think we respond to stories and not responding to facts. And slow down. What are we doing? How am I acting? Am I acting this out rather than talking it out? What supports or denies this story? And I remember I had a coach tell me one time, she's like, Kiera, whenever you're in a story or things are feeling gross or they're feeling hard or you're feeling frustrated, ask yourself, is this a story or a fact? And that's my easy go-to answer of, is this a story or is it a fact? And a lot of times when I'm like, it's a fact, they always leave the laundry out. But it's a story. It's not a fact. And I'm not here to keep score, but just reminding myself, like, I'm in a story and let's go to the facts. And what do I really want for me, for the other person, and for our relationship? Again, it's that bigger piece of what we want. And then really, they talked about like avoiding always and nevers. What is being said and how is it being said? Because oftentimes the way we come into a conversation can set the stage for it. Are we on track or are we off track? We want to make sure we're noticing if the other person feels unsafe. And if they are feeling unsafe, we want to call ourselves out and be like, hey, I'm noticing that you're it feels like you're maybe not feeling as safe in this conversation. And I want you to feel safe. Can you just help me understand what you're feeling and how I can make sure that you feel safe and that this is a conversation and not a dictation? Notice I didn't tell them what they're feeling. I didn't say, you look like you're feeling this way. I said, I just am sensing like maybe you're not feeling as safe in this conversation. That could also be a triggering word. So be careful on the word you choose to use. But hey, I just want to make sure that this is a conversation and not a dictation. Can you help me understand, what are you feeling right now? And the big thing on crucial conversations is also listening and making it feel safe. Like, you really got to make sure people feel safe in the conversation, that it's truly a conversation and you're not coming in with, I'm better than you, and there's fighting on it, but there's a mutual purpose. You must trust that they love you and care about you. And we're working to a top option that's good for both of us. We're seeking a mutual understanding. And again, I think that pulls out the me versus you. It's that mutual understanding. And I think that for me, as this fiery redhead who loves to like go into some hot debates, I've got a red personality, I've got red hair, like let's just keep adding to it. I've got this very dominant, turbulent, like I've got all these things that drive me. But when I took it out of, this isn't about you, it's not about me, it's about this higher, greater cause, that's when things became easier for me to really dive into this and make it, and always be respectful. Contrast and context, be honest, what you do and don't believe. Find people's real purpose and get away from strategy. Invest in a mutual purpose. So there were so many other things. I feel like hopefully that just gave you guys a little pieces of like, explore the other person's path, like listen to them. They said silence or violence, encourage them to share their past. And they had the AMPP, ask, show genuinely, what's going on? I'd really love to hear your perspective. Mirror their actions. Paraphrase, put messages in my word. What I hear is this correct? I want to make sure I'm on your same page. Prime, back off and prime and see what they want to see happen. Understanding does not mean agreeing. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing. Like, just because you understand does not mean you have to agree with it. Doesn't mean you have to go for it. Build upon where you can. What things do we have in common? What things are we seeing here that we can build? Start with listening instead of sharing our ideas first. Compare when you need to show different ways. I think differently. And then share an observation. They might see that and say, like, I do see it differently. And this is how I see it differently. Again, I'm not trying to prove that I'm right. We're just trying to come to a mutual agreement that's best for both of us, not one or the other. And it's for the mutual, the bigger piece of all of this. That's what we're going for. Like, I see you're really passionate about this. I'd like to share a perspective that might be different than yours. Are you open to listening? And ask them. If they say no, you're not going to get anywhere. But I thought it was really good about like asking the questions and seeing things, and then how to take the hard feedback and then really putting it into practice. And so that's why I just love this book. I think it's a phenomenal read for all of you. I think it's a great one for teams, because sometimes what I found is when teams all learn together, then it's a safer space and we can all do this at the same time. So in Practice Momentum, one of our group consulting product, we actually teach the doctors and then we teach the full team. And what I tell them on the team trainings is like, now you have an opportunity to go practice with your whole team because everybody just learned this together. All of us are learning crucial conversations together. So let's go practice this. Let's go learn this. Let's go try having a crucial conversation with each other and realize like we're muddy on this. We've never learned it. And I'm trying and I'm wanting to get better at these conversations. So like give me grace and give me feedback on what I did really well and how I could make this better for you for next time. It's so beautiful when teams learn this together, when we all grow on this together. That's why I love my team doing book club, because we're all learning about crucial conversations. Well, that makes it a safer space for us to have a crucial conversation. And you can even throw in the buzzwords of, hey, I want to have a crucial conversation with you. Fantastic. I already know what's coming my way. Thanks for prepping the stage for me. Or like, hey, I want to have a conversation and like figure it out and get this resolved between the two of us so that way we're super clear and on the same page. Fantastic. Thanks again. Like, I know where we're headed. I know the steps. I know the tools that I've got. I know the tools that you've got. Oftentimes this can really help both sides. And so that's why I love book clubs. That's why I love getting your whole team on the same page, because it gives this space where we've all learned together. But you have to remember, if you're all in a world of crucial conversations and this becomes part of your culture, make sure new hires also get a copy of the book of like, hey, we're really big on crucial combos. This is some of the required reading before you join our team, because we work through crucial conversations, or your leadership team is all on 5 dysfunctions, or it's extreme ownership. Whatever it is, we just need to make sure that new people coming to the scene also are equipped with the same skills that we've all learned together. So don't forget about them. But I would really, really, really encourage you guys to go read Crucial Conversations, especially as a team. That way you're able to speak more freely and to practice with your spouses and your family. And like, I just had a crucial conversation with my mom yesterday, and it was really interesting to hear her perspective. And she said, Kiera, and she came in a little attack mode, and I wanted to go right back into attack mode. But I realized, instead of attacking her, just listening to her and letting her say her whole side. And then I said like, hey, thanks for sharing that with me. I really do appreciate that. I see it a bit differently, and this is how I see it. Can I share how I got to this conclusion? And she was very open to it. And at the end of the conversation, we were very much resolved. And I told her, I said, I think I'm a really great communicator, Mom. And she said, I actually sometimes struggle with your communication. Wow. All right. Like, I'm even about to go podcast about this. Thank you for giving me a good a dose of reality. But I do think sometimes family members are trickier. They push buttons a little bit differently than other people. We don't have that professional world. We can't just quit. I mean, we can walk out for sure, but we're still bound to them as family, whether we want to see that or not. And so I think it's just a beautiful way to start practicing to elevate. So that way you don't have the stress. You know, no matter what happens, you can have that conversation, high emotions or non-high emotions. You can really, really navigate through that. So like I said, if you want us to help teach your team, it's through the group consulting and practice momentum, or through our private one-on-one platinum consulting. Either way, I think this is one of the greatest things we've ever been able to teach teams. Like, I love going into practice and putting it up on a board and making each other practice this and then leaving it there for them. And their action items are that everybody does at least 1 or 2 crucial conversations that week. Whatever conversation you've been avoiding, go practice it and let them know you're practicing it, but giving those step-by-steps. And this book is even a more in-depth version than even what I've consulted, coming from our own experience and different trainings I've gone through. So I definitely recommend that. And if we can help in any way, reach out hello@thedentallyteam.com, and be sure to join me next month. I cannot wait to have you on book club with me next month. We are going to be going through, our next month is going to be The Noticer. Sometimes All a Person Needs is a Little Perspective by Andy Andrews. So get ready for that. Come join us. And as always, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental Team Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.